Welcome to Module 1 of cGMP for finished pharmaceuticals. We'll cover Subpart B. But before we jump in, let me ask, how many of you have seen an FDA observation that traced back to people rather than equipment or facilities? That's exactly why Subpart B exists. This section of GMP focuses on how organizations are structured, who has authority, and how decisions get made. When these basics break down, quality breaks down with them. Here's how we'll spend our time. First, a quick CFR overview. Then we'll walk through the key Subpart B requirements, using FDA inspection examples to show how these citations actually happen. Finally, we'll wrap up with why this subpart consistently shows up in FDA findings. The CFR isn't guidance, it's enforceable law. FDA expects companies to operate in control every day, not just during inspections. Subpart B exists because FDA has seen, over and over, that weak organizational controls lead to quality failures elsewhere in the system. Subpart B is built around 4 core ideas. Quality must have authority. People must be qualified. Hygiene and behavior matter. Outside expertise must also be qualified. As we go through these, think about where your organization is strong and where gaps might exist. 211.22a requires an established quality control unit with real authority. Let me give you a real inspection example. FDA cited a company because the quality unit released product before all finished product testing was complete. Even though testing finished later, FDA said the damage was already done. The quality unit didn't act as a true gatekeeper. This is about independence. Quality has to be able to say no, even when schedules or business pressures push the other way. The quality unit's authority doesn't stop at final product. It covers raw materials, labeling, in-process materials, and contract manufactured product. FDA often cites companies where quality oversight exists on paper, but not in practice, especially when responsibilities are fragmented or assumed to belong to someone else. 211.22b requires adequate laboratory facilities. Why? Because quality decisions must be based on data. FDA frequently cites firms that rely only on supplier certificates of analysis without adequate verification. When inspectors ask, "How do you know this material meets specifications?" and the answer is, "Because the supplier said so," that's when this section becomes a problem. The quality unit must approve or reject procedures that impact product quality. FDA observations often point to uncontrolled procedures, things like undocumented changes, outdated SOPs, or practices that drifted from what was approved. If quality isn't controlling the process, FDA considers the system out of control. This section says procedures must be written and followed. One FDA example involved a company restarting aseptic operations after a shutdown without performing a required media fill, even though their own procedure required it. FDA didn't accept explanations. The expectation was simple: if it's written, you must follow it. 211.25 requires personnel to be qualified through education, training, and experience, and that training must be ongoing. FDA has cited firms where employees were technically trained but still demonstrated unsafe behaviors during operations. From FDA's perspective, if training doesn't translate into correct performance, the training program has failed. This section focuses on hygiene, gowning, and controlled access. FDA inspection findings often describe personnel behaviors that introduce contamination risk, such as improper technique or uncontrolled movement in critical areas. These aren't seen as minor lapses. FDA treats them as direct threats to product quality. Employees with illness or open lesions must be excluded from direct product contact and must report conditions. FDA expects companies to have systems that rely on reporting, supervision, and enforcement, not just trust. This requirement exists because people are one of the highest risk variables in manufacturing. Consultants must be qualified, and their qualifications must be documented. In many warning letters, FDA explicitly recommends engaging a consultant qualified under 211.34, but they also remind companies that management remains responsible. Hiring a consultant does not transfer accountability. FDA will still hold the firm responsible for the outcome. As you've seen, Subpart B isn't just about org charts or training files. It's about control, accountability, and behavior. Many FDA citations start here because when people systems fail, everything else eventually follows. If your firm needs customized modules such as this one, contact us at spandit@gmpscientific.com.